right, guys, welcome back to the Brand to Table podcast. It's your boy, Henry Kaminski Jr., your go-to for restaurant marketing and branding. Today's guest, I've been waiting for this episode for like 2 months. We have an amazing chef with us again today, Chef James Avery. How we doing, dude?
Good, man. What's up?
Nothing, man. I was so pumped. I've been talking to you. I don't know if you listen to the show, but like there's a few episodes where I drop your name and I was I cannot wait for you to come on the show. So let's dive into it. Yeah. So, everybody may or may not know that you've been on that Gordon Ramsay show, Hell's Kitchen. But before we get into that, I want to talk about James Avery prior to celebrity status, right? Yeah. Talk to me. How'd you get into food?
Honestly, high school, I was an athlete. I got injured. I started delivering pizzas.
What'd you play?
Lacrosse and hockey.
Nice.
And I started working it. I liked having money too. I had a DJ business. I would disc jockey on the weekends, but I liked money, man. I liked making money. So the easiest thing as a kid was to go deliver pizzas back in the day. So that was like my first intro to restaurants, Spring Lake Pizzeria, like 1998. And I just really like the environment of restaurants and kitchens. And I've loved restaurants since I was a little boy. Like I would get into that in a minute. But long story short, I went on to college and I didn't work my freshman year, but my sophomore year, I'm like, I want to go work in the restaurant. So I started serving and bar backing. I did valet. Okay. And somewhere in my senior year, I was like, I think I want to own restaurants because I always had that entrepreneurial itch too. I was like, I think restaurants, but I think to take this as a career, I should get into the kitchen and learn how to be a chef. So it was never really a passion about food. It was more like the business, and the actual industry and being in it. And so that's kind of how I found my way into kitchens. After college, I went to culinary school in Fort Lauderdale where I met my wife, who's from New Jersey. We went to the same high school, didn't know each other.
Come on.
Yeah, we met in South Florida. Moved back and I just kind of got right into it. I took a little time off, tried some other industries that just weren't a good fit, but pretty much since 2007, it's just been all focused. I went to work for David Burke at the Fromagerie, dabbled in some, seasonal business operations, but ultimately I found myself in Atlantic City. When you're from the Jersey Shore, it's like, at this, going back in the early 2000s, it was like, pizzerias, sports bars, maybe a few really super high-end restaurants, scattered about.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna go to Atlantic City, and eventually I worked for Michael Mina down there at the Borgata. I had a really good mentor there, Anthony Amoroso. He was just recently on Iron Chef at the time, so that's why I was really like drawn to go there. He beat Morimoto on Iron Chef.
Oh, nice, nice.
That was a big feather in his cap. And that's what led me to, being down there. And that ultimately is where the connection with Gordon Ramsay came into play.
How'd you say yes to that? Like, walk me through that a little bit.
All right. So I found my way to Atlantic City, like 2009, 2010, if memory serves me correctly. I left to go do a joint venture with Caesars Entertainment. I left the Borgata and See Blue to go do a joint venture with Caesars Entertainment and Be Our Guest, which is a New York-based hospitality group.
Oh, right.
The Bill's Bar and Burger, Dos Caminos, all that back in the day, to open up restaurants. Now, rewinding back about a year prior to that when I was at See Blue, Gordon's old corporate chef, and she also was on the show, Andy Van Willigen. She was the Red Team Sous Chef. They were filming Kitchen Nightmares in New Jersey, and they needed like a consulting chef, and they needed some help on the show, and there was a connection there. So they wanted my chef to go, Anthony, and he couldn't go. And they called me, and they didn't call me. He called me and said, "Hey, I can't do this. Do you want to do it?" I'm like, yeah, I want to do it. Like, sure. I'll go work on a TV show. Sure. No, it was never planned. It just kind of, but I worked really hard, and he trusted me, and he felt comfortable with sending me up there because I was just, that time in my 20s, I was just a man possessed trying to get ahead in this business,
Yeah.
So anyway, I went and did a season of Kitchen Nightmares. I ended up getting featured on camera with Gordon. And then I went back to AC, and at that point, we moved to do the Be Our Guest stuff. And about 2.5 years into doing that, I get a random phone call one day like, hey, this is such and such from Hell's Kitchen. Gordon's longtime sous chef is leaving the show. We're considering you. Would you be interested in it? And I was like, I remember actually kind of like falling to my knees a little bit. Like it was, at 31 years old, that was a big deal. Yeah. Like that doesn't happen. I'm a kid that started in a pizzeria in New Jersey, and I worked really hard. And, it was like one of those things, like you can't say no to it. Because at the time I had a young child, I had a 6-year-old, and it would entail me leaving for 4 months to go film on the other side of the country.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. But, I went to my bosses in Atlantic City and I said, listen, it was a great, thing. And I have an opportunity, and they're all like, James, go.
That's awesome.
So it was a really good timing in my life, and the rest was history, as they would say.
I love it. So how cooking under Gordon, right? How has that sort of changed your trajectory in the industry?
Yeah. So here's the thing. Like, I am not I'm not on his restaurant team. I don't work in his restaurants. I'm not affiliated with any of that. He's got GRNA, Gordon Ramsay North America, where they have multiple concepts nationwide. He's got concepts worldwide, really. I'm not involved, So I've worked strictly on like his TV show productions, which is real cooking. So I am cooking with him, but it's a different kind of pressure. It's a different role. There's a lot of moving parts with TV and production, and we are cooking. We are prepping Wellingtons, and we are training chefs how to cook but it's a different level. So, really, I guess, learning different skill sets on the fly. Yeah. That's the biggest thing, Definitely learned a lot of cooking techniques, like just being around him, and we're utilizing his recipes that he's used forever. But as far as changing my trajectory, I mean, there was really, when I first started doing Hell's Kitchen, like Instagram was in its infancy. People were like using Facebook to stay in touch with college. Yeah, like it wasn't what it was. So like, it really gave me a lot of exposure and authority in the industry. Like, authority meaning like, wow, this guy's Gordon Ramsay sous chef on Hell's Kitchen. Like, he must know what he's doing and all. And obviously I did, but it definitely was a draw to, back in New Jersey now, like finding investors and, kind of giving me a lot of opportunity here. It definitely opened up a lot of doors for me.
So what do you think one big takeaway from him is? And then we're going to get into some branding, marketing stuff.
Totally. For me, seeing how he's involved in every aspect of it. Like, right down from the cooking. We arrive at 6 a.m. He shows up. He meets with everybody. He goes over what he has to go over. Because there's a lot of, like, look, there's cameras everywhere, right? We have to be in a certain spot. Like, he's just so sharp with that. And then he goes and then he, is involved in the food. And like, okay, well, let me taste everything. Let me see this. And it's just a million things happening. And he's got his finger on all of it. And just, you could apply that to business, right? Like, you have to know what is going on when it's your brand and your name and what's happening. And you don't necessarily have to be the expert at everything, but you definitely need to know who's doing it, what's going on, all that stuff. So that's the biggest thing, just the attention to detail and being able to have many, many skills. I mean, he's a chef. He's an executive producer. Yeah. He does a lot of other, he runs a business empire. Yeah. So, he definitely knows how to do a lot of things, and that's what I take away from him.
Love it. All right, let's get into, because I know you do some decent consulting in the area, right? So when you walk into a restaurant for the first time, what's the first thing that you're looking at? And what is the first thing that you're like, okay, we need to fix this immediately?
Yeah. The first thing I look at is the floor.
No way.
Yeah. The floor is dirty. I know there's a lot of problems. No, I'm dead serious. First thing I look at in my own restaurant.
It's so funny. Jamie from Eat Clean, bro. He said the first thing I do is look at the vents.
Yeah. Well, so it's something. Well, it's the same concept, right? It's that if they're not paying attention to that or this or that, if there's French fries on the floor, there's not enough busboys, or they just don't give a crap. So I look at that. I pay attention to like the elements, right? Like, is the music too loud or not existent? Is the lighting right? Is anybody paying attention? These are all details. And if they're not paying attention to these obvious things that take zero skill and effort that make sure they're being executed, then they're probably not doing, God, I can't wait to see what this walk-in's going to look like. Or the same thing. If I see 20 menus at the hostess stand, meaning this menu, that menu, special menu, wine menu, drink menu, holiday menu, prefix menu, takeout menu, I'm like, I know there's a lot of stuff. So I pay attention to those little things like that first.
Awesome. All right. So nowadays we talk about branding and personal branding, right? And I know that you're diving deep into personal branding. And I think that's such a smart move, especially for chefs. When did you realize that, like, being a chef, right, and having your expertise in the kitchen was sort of like not a prerequisite,
baseline.
But baseline, right? And now that you have all this competition, when did you get bit by that bug?
Yeah, I would say that as soon as I became a chef, I realized cooking is the easy part. Like, it is like, you have to know how to be a talented cook. I say this all the time on my social media. People are like, well, what do you mean talent doesn't matter? I'm like, it matters, but like, it's expected.
Yeah.
If you're the chef, I expect you to be a good cook.
Yeah.
You're not going to like wow me with the fact that you know how to cook everything to temperature and write a menu. Like, that's not enough. So I learned that very early on. Branding was something always that fascinated me. You know, it was never really talked about in as a personal brand for chefs. You know, people were like, well, I'm an employee. Why do I need a personal brand? You absolutely need a personal brand. It's a living resume. And if you just take away the word brand and stop thinking about Coca-Cola and their logo and all these companies and gimmicky names and slogans, and just think about it as it's simply your reputation. It's what people associate you. So how do they think of your work ethic? You know, what do your previous bosses say about you? How did you leave your last place of employment better or worse off? Do they still talk about you there? You know, I would like to think when I leave a legacy. That's part of my brand. Like, I want to make, and I always leave that everybody can contact me. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for a shout out. Just, I'm always there. So I guess I just took it. I put it on my shoulder as like, this has to be important to me. And it just organically happened that, wow, I'm building a personal brand. And it started as a line cook. It started as being the guy who showed up first. And it started as the guy who cared a lot and tried really hard and learned. It had nothing to do with, oh, I was on TV. Now I can build a personal brand. It was like, no, I'm going to start this fucking brand build from the time I enter a kitchen till now. And it snowballs towards the end. So everybody just sees like all the brand success, the personal brand success. And then they're like, oh, well, it's easy to have a personal brand, you know, if you're on TV, but it's like, well, no, I built a reputation, and the reputation led to bigger opportunities.
Correct.
So I kind of it just kind of organically happened. And again, you know, the brand thing was always kind of something that was interesting to me.
Yeah. So
You know?
what are some? I'm a big like personal development guy, right? I feel like the more I can work on myself and be a better person, that's going to make me a better business person, right? So just real quick, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but like, what are some habits, routines that you do personally that help you sharpen that personal brand of yours?
Well, first and foremost, you're talking to somebody who read, you know, Dale Carnegie and Stephen Covey in high school.
Oh, wow.
You know,
and liked it?
Well, no, like 7 Habits was a hard book to get through at that age. But I was always interested in that leadership thing. And like, I always thought I'd want to be a CEO of a company or, you know, whatever it was. And I just was into those books. I went to Tony Robbins back when I was 22 years old. I did Date with Destiny when I was 22 years old, you know, in Palm Springs. So I've always been into that because it jacks you up.
Yeah, it
you
does.
know, like you can call it positive propaganda, all that stuff, but listen, it's better than watching the fucking news all day and getting beat up or just like having these negative self-talk habits. So I've always, and it's easy, it's accessible. Go buy a $17 book at Barnes & Noble. It might change your life.
Yeah.
So, you know, my habits are that, you know, I have my non-negotiables. I definitely don't just identify with my work in the restaurant. Like, I really want to be a good person and a good father. So there's a lot of ways to go about that. I have my non-negotiables, you know, I make sure I work out. I make sure I read X amount of time. If I catch myself like in these negative funks, I know I have to all energy has to go to getting out of that funk. Like, I can't just put that on the back burner and just run the routine of life. It's like timeout life. It's like the oxygen mask, right? When the plane is going down, get your mask on first. So I dive right into like, does my diet need to change? Do I need to like cut out some bad habits, like staying up late watching TV, having an extra bourbon? Do I, you know, what are these things I need to do? I need to spend more time in the gym. Do I need to meditate more? Do I need to do more breath work? And I do all that stuff. And not just because it's like talked about now, like I've always done that stuff, you know? But that's really it, you know? And like being gracious with yourself. You know, I think that's how I kind of maintain a lot of sanity.
Yeah.
know?
I got to tell you, first time I met you, we were at a mutual client's place, and you know, I felt like this guy's intense, but he's got a sensitivity about him where he's not like a drill sergeant. Right. He's when I saw you in the kitchen with the staff, I saw patience.
Yeah.
I saw a teacher.
Yeah.
I saw, like mentor. Right. And I think that's what made me say to myself, all right, this guy has some sharp features, right? Externally, but internally he is I'm not going to call you soft, but you have a mentorship ability to you that I don't think a lot of chefs or a lot of people have, you know, in general. And I want to point that out because I try to use this platform for as much good as I can, right? This podcast. And, you know, we've had quite a few conversations before coming on the show, and I just wanted to share that with you, and I wanted everybody else to hear this too, you know, because people don't get a chance to see this side of you, you know, so this is a great channel. So I just wanted to get that out of there. Let's talk about some of the stuff that you are currently working on to help other chefs sharpen their personal branding and just help the industry in general. I know you're in the digital space right now, and you're coming up with some really cool products. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at a very interesting point in my life. You know, after 10 years of running several restaurants in Asbury Park and owning, I decided to exit last year for a multitude of reasons. And it was a reset year for me. So 2025 was a challenging year. It was a year for personal growth, a year for like figuring some things out. You know, during that time, I did a ton of consulting. You know, I stayed on with the group that purchased my restaurant. I helped them open another. So I did a lot of consulting with them, and then, you know, really just managing that transfer of ownership. You know, the mutual client we have, I did that. I am going to go do the show again. Literally, they just reached out to me yesterday. So we're just finalizing that. But, you know, I didn't want to dive right back into a restaurant just yet. I wanted to figure out, like, okay, well, what can I do? Like, what can Chef James Avery do? Right? When I say Chef James Avery, it's the business Chef James Avery. Okay. It's not, you know, and it's like, I have this brand that I built, that I've worked on, right? And I have morals and I have values and I have things I care about. And you just hit the nail on the head. I care about this industry. I don't think this business is going anywhere. I love restaurants. I love working in them. I love the people in them. And I want to help them as much as humanly possible, right? And I have a lot of good tips and tricks and mindsets and all these things that I've developed along the way that I really want to share. So yes, there's the consulting piece. Like, you know, I want to make the business better, you know, on both sides, right? I want to make it better from the outside, working with these restaurants. These are better practices. This is how we should be structuring our businesses and the things we should be doing to create an environment where the guests leave happy and the employees can't wait to come to work. Simultaneously, like, talking to people that are in the business, and they, you know, there's a lot of disgruntled people. They feel like it's a hard business. I got to work 15 hours a day. I don't make any money. I'm trying to show them that you don't have to work 15 hours a day. And like, here's the path to making more money, right? And just giving them, and also tackling like the work-life balance, the mental health issues. So there's a lot of things that I can share with people. So I launched the Modern Brigade. It's my community, right? And I'm not like this coach who wants to live in Bali and sell mindfulness workshops.
The nomad.
I'm not, you know, so I wanted to like make something approachable. So I just launched the Chef's Mastery Workshop. It's for, you know, entry-level chefs. Maybe there's a sous chef out there in Kansas who doesn't have access to these chefs in the cities who have like me. And I'm like, well, we live in a time and place where I can just, you know, this person can join the community and log in and have FaceTime with me. So I'm creating that now. I'm also creating some other products like the personal branding for chefs or menu mastery, like how to write a profitable menu and just like little courses. And it's fulfilling for me because like the thing I miss most about having the restaurants was the problem solving and the teaching and the mentoring, you know, that's what really excites me the most about it. It's not playing with food in the back with tweezers. I like food, I do, but it's the collective energy of a restaurant.
I never freaking knew that about you. Yeah. I always thought you were so food folk. Like I thought you were all food. I guess that's how I was introduced to you, right?
Yeah,
like Chef James is a consultant here. He's helping us with the back of the house. That's his world, right?
Yeah.
So, but I do want to talk about this because, you know,
baseline. Food's the baseline part.
Right. In a previous life of mine before, so I've been in the industry for 16 years, right? But you and I both talked. There was about 3.5 years, 4 years where I did a lot of digital marketing stuff. And I worked, you know, Russell Brunson was a client of mine. Dean Graziosi was on my podcast. Like, you know, I was with, that was my circle of people for 3-4 years. Wow. And the cool thing about that was I got bit by that personal branding bug because they all said the same thing, kind of similar to what I just said to you. Is like, Henry, you have the gift of gab. You have an energy about you. You have a personality. You're not afraid of talking in front of thousands of people. Like, that all comes naturally to you. Why aren't you leaning into that more? Right. So I went all in on that. Right. When Dean Graziosi comes on your show and says, how are you going to leave a legacy for your son? That's a big question, right? But that'll get you fired up, right? And so I want to talk to you about that because, I've spent a lot of time in that space before personal branding was even a thing. Yeah. Right? People were like, you're just a self-centered guy that likes to hear himself talk on the internet, right? Like that's how I was perceived at the time. And now look what it's turned into. So I say all of that because I truly believe these restaurants today, the only way for them to stand out is to put some sort of personality to their restaurant, whether it be a person, right? So let's talk about that. When it comes to marketing, right? You're whether you're a chef or a restaurant, like where are restaurants getting it wrong? And what should they be focusing in on?
Yeah, I think because of the economy right now and where we are in the world, they're so price sensitive. They're scared to raise prices right now because there is a level of inelasticity, right? We can't. You go to the doctor, they raise their copays. You're still going to go to the doctor. Automotive parts get more expensive. They just raise the price of a car. You still need to buy a car. Still need to bring your engine breaks. You got to go get it fixed. Restaurants. You raise the price, people might stop coming. But price is kind of like what you pay, value is what you get. I think Warren Buffett said that, right? So it's true. I think we have to raise our prices while simultaneously driving value. And value isn't a discount. Value isn't a 2-for-1. Like, when I use the analogy of a $25 burger. Burgers should cost $25. I mean, honestly, at a mom and pop restaurant, it doesn't blow my mind anymore if a burger is 22, 20, whatever it is, Right. 20s. Because here's the deal. I know they have to pay high rent or high interest rates. I know there's all these hidden costs that aren't just the sum of the ingredients on the plate, right? So I kind of expect to pay that. I'm only upset when it's bad value, bad service, right? So I'm fully anticipating spending that money on the burger, but here's the thing. I expect to walk into a clean restaurant and be greeted pleasantly by the hostess or somebody, right? Acknowledged, right? I expect to be sat down and I expect them to be patient with my family because I'm a family. I have a wife and kids and my wife has dietary restrictions and my kids are, it's just whatever. Yeah. I expect patience and gratitude that I'm in there spending my money. I expect never to have an empty glass in front of me. I expect to not be too hot or too cold. Those are also my expectations. I expect the burger to be good and fries to be hot and seasoned, but there's so many other things that are off the plate. And that's where restaurants can drive the most value. And they tend to not to. They focused on cost, cutting labor, cutting food costs, all this stuff. And they're not creating value. They're just lowering the price. And that's what I think restaurants are getting it wrong. My opinion, my observation, I think restaurants have to get to a place where they're comfortable charging what they need to charge to survive and then working like hell to make sure that the price people are paying, they're getting the value out of that.
Yeah, I cannot disagree with any of what you just said. And I think that there's marketing initiatives that you could do outside the four walls, but I truly believe there's a lot of marketing that you could do inside the four walls.
Right. I mean, the cheapest customer to acquire is the one you already have.
Correct.
Like going out and trying to pull a unique customer in the door for a first-time sale is very difficult. Somebody's in there now. Give them a great experience. Touch the table. Let them feel heard. Like that's the value to me. Like I don't care that I spent $25 on a burger. And it's not just because I'm like an asshole or some rich guy. I'm not, it's like, but I understand it, but I just want to be treated a certain way and I want things to be a certain way. And I think that's more important than the cheese you decide to put on the burger.
It's so true. It's so true. I still think, to your point, your staff, right? Your servers is your army of salespeople.
That's it.
And
exactly
I think,
what they are,
right? And recently I was doing some math with a client, right? And I said, all right, our gap for the year is $400,000. We got to make up $400,000, right?
Yeah.
That's $7,600 and change a week. It's $1,000 a day.
Yeah.
Right. why aren't we looking at our marketing initiatives backwards in a sense where we can make up that $1,000 a day, right? Now we have to craft the marketing initiative around that goal. Right. So this is getting staff involved, like you'd mentioned.
Yes. Most restaurants love tactics. They hate strategy.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like they don't want to focus on a comprehensive strategy. They just want to pull a bunch of levers and hope that it all works. And it's like, you know, so, you know, I think training is important. Like charge $25 for the burger, but that might require that we have to spend $12,000 next year or this coming year on training, right? So you take that $12,000, you divide it across to how many meals you sold last year to get an idea, and it comes out to a certain number. Maybe it's $1. I don't know, whatever it works out to be. Not even, it's probably pennies. Yeah. Raise your prices, train your staff, do it right, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like, you got to come up with a training budget and you got to reinvest in the business. But they don't want to hear that. They just want to hear, well, why don't we do 2 for $1? Why don't we? And I do it too. I get it. I've been there. You're like, holy shit, I got to get this place full on Tuesday or my staff's not going to want to come to work. So you end up just giving the house away. But you need strategy. I've definitely learned over the last, since you're really being an owner, like the last 4 or 5 years, like strategy is everything.
Yeah.
Tactics, they don't, if they're not attached to a strategy, they're useless.
Yeah. How do you pick the right partners when it comes to helping with strategy? I mean, there's a lot of snake oil out there, and that's why I'm so big on my social media is showing receipts.
Yeah.
But how do you pick the right people to work with? Because a lot of people can blow smoke up your ass.
Yeah. Well, again, tell me maybe it's the right, I don't know, maybe it's the right, maybe it's the wrong. I mean, all of it really is a educated guess, but when they start talking too tactically, that's when you know, like, okay, this person doesn't have a strategy. Like, there's a difference between strategy. Strategy is we need to grow $400,000 next year, and this is where we're missing the meals. This is where our greatest opportunities are. We know this about our guests. We whatever it is, you get like a comprehensive idea, and then you say, all right, well, on Tuesday there's a huge deficit on Tuesday, so we need to now we start fitting in the tactics. We're going to do buy 2 entrees, get a free appetizer, because the strategy isn't free appetizer. The strategy is 2 entrees. Correct. And the tactic we're going to use is that promotion. So being strategic and again, that's kind of how I vet people. And I had to step back from the cooking to start learning these things.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And understanding that and being more involved in the financial and the marketing decisions. And I've made plenty of mistakes.
I think, listen, nobody knows everything.
No.
I'll be the first to tell you, I made thousands of dollars worth of mistakes, and it's just a matter of me sharing them with my clients and saying, listen, this is where we steer clear.
Yeah. But proof, social proof, like companies like yourself that you can show me. Like, I was blown away by what, your whole back end thing with what you did for Matt and those guys. So, just like seeing and trusting people, and you got to keep trying and be, and like, okay, that's not working, like pivot. Well, you got to give things time, but you'll know if something's working or not.
As we start to wrap up the conversation, what is firing you up, these days on a daily basis, as far as, this business and what you're working on? It sounds like in the digital space, you got a lot going on, but like, I want to go in a little bit, like open the door a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's a new skill set for me for sure. Like, I'm learning about the marketing and how to do it, but it's so refreshing. And again, I went to Tony Robbins. I read personal branding books. I've studied business. I've all these things. And even health on a personal level. Like, it's so refreshing to me to be able to like talk to people in my industry who are coming up in it, and not just talk about food, not just talk about recipes and tips and tricks on the cooking part. That's easy. That's not the easy part, but you can find that anywhere. Yeah. It fires me up sharing all these things. Listen, I've been married for 20 years. I have 4 beautiful kids that I come home to every night. I think I've established a pretty good system in my life, and it's exciting to share that and then see people like, wow, like right now I'm getting all this positive feedback on my social media posts, and just by happen chance, I just, I did a post and I got like 2.5 million views. And I'm like, okay, that's the formula they like. They like relatable. They like me kind of sharing a little bit. And I did it again.
Time out. You took the time to actually diagnose a viral post.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I had 3 in a row. I had 3 posts go, well, 2 went to 2.8 million and 1 went to like 1. Like in 1 week, I had like 5 million views on 3 different posts. No more than that, like 6 million views.
I just want people to understand that you have to take a minute to do that. Because then you can reverse engineer that for the future. Yeah,
like so right now what I find that people like is they like the human side of me. They like the relatable side. They like me saying like, I'm with you. Like one of my posts was, you're not behind, you just didn't get it handed to you. And it spoke to people's hearts. And they're like, wow. Like, and a lot of people like that, you know, I'm like ready to quit. And that spoke a lot to me, and it spoke a lot to me. And so that fires me up, honestly. I'm frothing to get another restaurant. This isn't me like wanting to.
Any particular restaurant or type of restaurant?
Yeah, I just want a neighborhood restaurant that kills it. I mean, kills it in terms of like it's simple, it's good, everybody likes it, but like it's well branded, it's thoughtful. But you know, again, I've made a lot of business mistakes, you know, signing in emotionally to high leases, you know, areas where I wanted it to work. So I kind of told myself it would. I really want to find the right space that I can like make it a legacy restaurant, a marquee restaurant for me. My goal used to be to have 10 restaurants, build a hospitality group and sell it. Now my goal is like, no, like 2 or 3 really cool projects, do this thing. If the TV thing continues to happen, amazing. If it doesn't, it was a great run. I was blessed for it. It's not something that like I'm going to hang my hat on or identify as, you know, but, yeah, that's all that stuff. But I just miss having my own restaurant. I miss my kids coming to see me at work and like running in the kitchen and getting a scoop of ice cream. Like I love being in restaurants. I really do.
Yeah, I can tell.
and I want my own again.
I can tell.
And I love the branding process of it. Like, what's the name going to be? What's the plate we're going to look like? And what are the servers going to wear? And what's our brand voice going to be? And how do I go out and find the money and convince investors that this is a great idea when everybody's like running away from restaurants right now?
Right.
It's like the whole thing is like so mentally stimulating for me.
Yeah.
So
I meant to ask you guys, I'm going to try to get him on the show, but there's some restaurants like in Central Jersey that are doing really well. Madison Modern Social.
Yeah, I know those guys.
Yeah, like Dimitri. They own like,
I spoke to Dimitri. Yeah, it's funny. My mom's in a preschool and his son went to my mom's preschool.
Oh, how funny.
I've known Dimitri for a long time.
Yeah, so when I was in the club days, you know what I mean? He owned Deco, and I was doing flyers through the promoters, not specifically through him, but I was at Madison 2 weeks ago.
Madison Modern Social.
That's what it is. Yeah. And like, you know, Saturday night, there were stilt walkers walking around the freaking restaurant.
Yeah.
Right? The minute you walk into that place, and I'm going here for a second for a reason, there's this custom door that they built. The minute you open that door, it's like the size of this room, right? The minute you walk in there, you're like, this place is different.
Yeah.
And so I share that with you because I'm like, I want you, with the time we have left, like to talk about differentiation because you're very passionate about it.
Yeah, but you don't have to be, don't be different for different's sake. I think authenticity is more important than anything. You know, I think over the last 15 years, I don't want to say a certain chef's name, but he, you know, they kind of drove hospitality out. It was like trying to be cool and different and unique. And we lost our way with restaurants. Like we started doing away with white tablecloth and proper hospitality. And it kind of became like this convergence of like fast casual meets like super casual dining at a counter with an uncomfortable stool. And it was like, I miss the days of just a warm, authentic restaurant, you know, with a tablecloth, with a corner seat. It doesn't have to be fine dining. I'm not talking about like, you know, tablecloth in that sense, but just warm, old school. Authenticity is going to have to find its way back. I think private equity really did a disservice to the business. It made a lot of people rich, but it made everybody just want to be the next Chipotle, you know, and that's a shame. And it outpriced everything because people are selling restaurants and it's driving property values up, and it's putting a lot of constraints on us. Kind of went off on a tangent there.
Okay.
But I don't think you have to just come up with I'm going to do a Thai Indian taco fusion restaurant. Like, you don't have to just be different. Just be really good and really authentic. Like the fundamentals of hospitality are what will make you different because nobody's really doing that anymore. Like warm Danny Meyer built an empire on warm hospitality and concepts that people understand. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
Yes, he made a ton of money with, you know, Shake Shack.
Yeah.
But Union Square Hospitality built some of the best restaurants that you'll talk about for the ages. And I think focusing on that old school, it's going to make a comeback in a major way when it does. When I think that's what people are really yearning for. You're seeing like the rise of the neighborhood restaurant again, corner store, Chechi's, all these New York City restaurants. They're not per se, and they're not these crazy tasting menu places. It's just a neighborhood restaurant where like the maitre d' knows your name and sits you down. Yeah. I think if you can figure a way to do that.
I gotta tell you, I was in London the week of Thanksgiving last year, and there's a bar on every corner. Like when my friends from the UK were like, yeah, we like to drink, right?
Local.
Right. But to your point, man, you walk in, you could tell it's a neighborhood feel.
Yeah.
There was one thought that you brought up. Oh, you talked about hospitality, and I'm a huge proponent of it. And I think it's an extension of marketing in so many ways, right? All of the trends all the publications, the videos I'm watching, the podcasts I'm listening to, what I'm reading, they're all saying that 2026, if you don't go back to the hospitality basics, you're going to be left behind.
100%. Yeah, people are over it because, again, it goes back to that $25 burger. I don't want to go sit on a metal stool with no cushion with a server who acts like I'm inconveniencing them because I asked for them the little instruction. There's places that are a dime a dozen, and they made a lot of money quickly. But yeah, old school hospitality. I tell you what, I had the Bonnie Reed in Asbury for 10 years, and I ended up closing it for a lot of reasons. But it was at one point probably one of the best restaurants, seafood restaurants in New Jersey. I was doing salmon and baked potatoes with a side of coleslaw. It wasn't avant-garde food. It was very good, very consistent. What made that place special was I had the same staff for almost 10 years, and that had more value to my guests than probably anything I could have come up with out of my mind, culinarily speaking.
What made them stick?
I think, my managing partner, my other managing partner, and myself, we definitely weren't always perfect, but we built a really strong sense of family. Him and I were like brothers. I mean, he was at my house on New Year's Day. We haven't been in business together in almost a year. I think that kind of flowed through the restaurant. It wasn't like this divisiveness. It wasn't the food's more important. It was like, this is what we do. They're coming into our home. And I think, and we did do our best to really make sure everybody was like taken care of and was able to make money. And we personally subsidized that with like, just, either hiring more support staff. So it kept the tip kitty bigger, whatever we had to do. But I think more than anything, it was just the energy and the vibe of the place. It was definitely, I'm still sad about it, but it just had to happen. We had to pivot, and it was just, it just had to happen. But my point of that was that I feel that the hospitality, and I'm saying this as a chef, was what really kept people coming back.
There you go. There you go. There you go. What do you want your legacy to be?
I once read, I want to say it was Graham Elliott. I read it in a career book for chefs, and he said, good chefs make great food. Great chefs make other great chefs. I think I always want people to go on and do great things, and kind of like just say I learned that from James. You know what I mean? I got emotional saying that. Yeah, and I hope people know that how much I love this business and how much I care about it and how much I want to see the business thrive, because selfishly, I love this business and I need people to want to be involved in it, and I need it to get back. It's been a really brutal 5 years post-COVID for the restaurant industry. It's always been hard, but it's not the hours that are hard to me. It's not that I got to work on Easter that's hard to me. It's like, it's been like we have been collectively fighting a juggernaut, and trying to push this boulder uphill. And I'm doing everything I can to really fix that and bring awareness to things and help the people in it that are struggling, that, may have a love for it. So that's my legacy, I guess. I don't care if I ever win a James Beard Award, a Michelin star, or another accolade in another magazine about my food. I know I make good food. I know how to cook, but my mission now is much bigger.
That is freaking awesome. And you're well on your way, my friend. I am so happy I met you, dude. I'm not going to lie. Like, what a, I truly believe the universe brings people together for reasons.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the reason is, but
we're going to find out this year.
James, thanks so much
My
for coming
pleasure,
on the
man.
show. I mean, you drove over an hour to get up here.
Podcast time.
Yeah, but I appreciate you so much. Where can people find you?
I'm Chef James Avery across the digital world. So it's my YouTube channel, it's my website. So just Chef James Avery. It's probably on this thing somehow. But yeah, that's it. Find me anywhere.
Awesome. Guys, there you have it. Another episode in the books. Let me know on social media when I start posting these clips what your biggest takeaway was of this episode. Share this episode. There's a lot of gold in this episode that James talked about, and I want to get that feedback from you. Also, make sure you leave a review, make sure you share, make sure you comment, all those things, right? That helps create momentum, and it also helps me get this it just fires me up to create more episodes. I'm not gonna lie, so I'm gonna do it anyway, but hope you got value out of this, and I'm gonna catch you on the next one real soon. Take care.